Welcome to Economic Frontiers, where we explore the cutting edge of global economic trends and their impact on our lives. I'm David Mitchell, and today we're tackling the topic that's making headlines and causing anxiety across labor markets worldwide. AI and robots will take our jobs. Specifically, we're focusing on manufacturing, production, transportation, and logistics industries. Joining me today is Dr. Emma Reynolds, an economic researcher specializing in labor economics and technological displacement at the National Institute of Economic Studies. Welcome to the show, Dr. Reynolds.
Thank you for having me, David. It's a critical conversation to be having right now as we're witnessing unprecedented technological disruption in these traditional employment sectors.
Let's dive right in. There's plenty of hype around AI, but what's the reality? Are we truly facing a job apocalypse in manufacturing and logistics, or is this just another cycle of technological change that we'll adapt to?
The evidence suggests this wave is fundamentally different from previous technological revolutions, David. Earlier innovations primarily affected either manual labor through mechanization or routine clerical work through computerization. What makes AI distinct is its ability to perform cognitive, non-routine tasks that previously required human judgment. A Goldman Sachs report estimates approximately 300 million full-time jobs worldwide could be exposed to automation from generative AI alone, with manufacturing and logistics among the hardest-hit sectors.
Those are staggering numbers. Can you break down how manufacturing is specifically being affected right now?
Absolutely. Since 2000, we've already lost 1.7 million jobs to automation in manufacturing alone, and that was before the recent AI revolution. Today's AI systems are dramatically accelerating this trend. They're not just handling the physical assembly processes that robotics already transformed, but now they're taking over quality control, production planning, inventory management, and even design optimization. McKinsey research indicates AI could add over $1 trillion annually to the global manufacturing industry, primarily through labor cost reduction.
So companies are making more money while employing fewer people. What specific manufacturing jobs are most vulnerable?
Assembly line workers face the highest risk, particularly those performing repetitive tasks that can be easily programmed. Machine operators, production supervisors, and quality control inspectors are seeing their core job functions automated. What's particularly concerning is that manufacturing jobs have traditionally offered relatively good wages for workers without a college degree. As these positions disappear, displaced workers often find themselves moving to lower-paying service sector jobs.
That's a troubling downward mobility pattern. What about the transportation sector? We hear a lot about self-driving vehicles, but how close are we to seeing massive job losses there?
The transportation sector employs over 6.6 million workers in the United States alone, with about 1.1 million of those jobs now directly impacted by AI. Our research at the Institute indicates that 83% of transportation occupations can have at least one core task accelerated or eliminated by AI. While fully autonomous long-haul trucking faces regulatory hurdles in many regions, it's already legal in states like Texas, and the technology is advancing rapidly.
But surely some transportation jobs are safer than others, right?
That's correct. The impact is uneven. Short-haul and local deliveries, which require navigating complex urban environments and handling varied packages, are less susceptible to complete automation in the near term. However, scheduling, routing, and logistics management functions are being automated right now. What's alarming is that MIT research shows workers with only a high school diploma face the highest exposure to AI displacement, with approximately 28% of transportation jobs falling within the top quartile of AI-exposed occupations.
Let's talk about logistics more broadly. How are warehouses and distribution centers changing with AI and robotics?
We're seeing a fundamental transformation. Amazon alone has deployed over 750,000 robots across its fulfillment centers, dramatically reducing the need for human pickers and packers. Modern warehouses use AI-powered systems for inventory optimization, with autonomous vehicles moving goods and robotic arms picking items. A particularly concerning development is that logistics managers, who earn relatively good wages, face over 90% task exposure to AI automation, while mechanics have nearly zero exposure. This creates a troubling bifurcation in the workforce.
Are there any warning signs that this displacement is already happening?
Yes, recent labor market data from the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis shows that occupations with higher AI exposure are experiencing larger unemployment rate increases. Computer and mathematical occupations, which are among the most AI exposed with scores around 80, have seen some of the steepest unemployment rises. The correlation coefficient between AI exposure and unemployment increases is 0.47, which is statistically significant.
That's concerning. Some would argue that new jobs will be created to replace those that are lost. What does the evidence say about that?
History shows that technological innovation does create new job categories over time. However, there are three crucial problems with this optimistic view. First, the pace of displacement appears to be outstripping job creation. Second, the new jobs often require very different skills than those being automated. And third, the geographical distribution of new jobs rarely matches where the losses occur, creating concentrated economic distress in manufacturing-dependent regions.
Your research points to a particularly trolling dynamic for certain workers. Can you elaborate on which workers are most vulnerable?
The most vulnerable workers are those with minimal education performing cognitive tasks that AI can now handle. In logistics, these include clerks, freight agents, dispatchers, and record keepers. Jobs that are information intensive, but can easily be augmented or replaced through AI agents. According to MIT research, without new job creation or effective reskilling efforts, both the number of workers in this segment and their wages are likely to decline significantly.
You mentioned logistics managers being particularly vulnerable despite their higher wages. Why is that?
That's where we see the economic incentives for automation most clearly. Firms naturally target high-wage positions for cost reduction. Within trucking and freight subsectors, for example, there's a striking contrast. Truck drivers earn relatively modest wages and face lower AI exposure, while logistics managers, who earn substantially more, have over 90% of their tasks susceptible to AI automation. Companies may keep their drivers while aggressively replacing or downsizing their managerial staff, which creates both displacement risk and wage pressure.
Is there any evidence that this displacement is happening faster than in previous technological revolutions?
Absolutely. The rate of adoption for generative AI tools is unprecedented. According to the Real-Time Population Survey, 23% of employed workers were already using generative AI for work at least once a week by late 2024. What's particularly troubling is that occupations that embraced AI most intensively showed the largest unemployment gains, with a correlation coefficient of 0.57. This suggests we may indeed be witnessing early stages of AI-driven job displacement happening much faster than historical transitions.
That paints a rather bleak picture for workers in these industries. Is there any way to mitigate these negative impacts?
There are policy interventions that could help. First, we need robust and targeted retraining programs specifically designed for displaced manufacturing and logistics workers. Second, strengthening social safety nets during this transition period is crucial. Third, considering policies like transitional income support or portable benefits that follow workers rather than being tied to specific employers could help. Finally, we may need to rethink how productivity gains from automation are distributed, perhaps through mechanisms like profit sharing or universal basic income.
Those are significant policy shifts. Do you see any political will to implement them?
Unfortunately, our political response is lagging far behind technological change. The evidence of displacement is mounting, but comprehensive policy responses remain fragmented. What's particularly concerning is that the regions most affected by manufacturing job losses often lack the educational infrastructure and economic diversity to easily absorb displaced workers. Without coordinated intervention, we risk exacerbating regional inequality and economic insecurity.
As we wrap up, Dr. Reynolds, what's your forecast for the next 5 years in these industries?
In manufacturing, we'll see continued hollowing out of middle skill positions, with growth primarily in highly technical roles requiring specialized education. In transportation and logistics, autonomous technologies will gradually replace drivers on standardized routes, while human-AI collaboration becomes the norm for complex logistics management. By 2030, I expect at least 30% of current transportation and logistics jobs to be significantly transformed or eliminated, with insufficient new job creation to fully offset these losses.
That's a sobering prediction. Any final thoughts for our listeners who may be working in these industries?
I'd encourage workers to be proactive about developing skills that complement rather than compete with AI. Focus on areas requiring human judgment, creativity, complex problem solving, and interpersonal skills. Also, recognize that collective action through labor organizations may become increasingly important as a counterbalance to accelerating automation. While individual preparation is essential, structural responses will ultimately determine whether the benefits of AI-driven productivity are broadly shared or narrowly concentrated.
Dr. Emma Reynolds, thank you for this illuminating, if concerning, conversation about the impact of AI on our workforce.
Thank you for having me, David. These are difficult realities to confront, but addressing them honestly is the first step toward developing better responses.
You've been listening to Economic Frontiers. I'm David Mitchell. If you found today's discussion valuable, please subscribe to our podcast and share it with others. Next week, we'll be exploring potential policy solutions to the challenges we've discussed today. Until then, stay informed and engaged as we navigate these economic transitions together.